everyone, welcome back to Destination Truth. Today's episode is not the sequel to my last episode. It's a little intermission because, well, let me jump right into it. I'm getting married this weekend. So I've got way too much going on to finish editing the other video, and there's some things I still need to record for it, and there's just too much involved. I got too much to do, but this short video I want to record because I've got a lot of emotions going on in my head here, and I'm about to get married for my first time, and it's 2019, and the world we live in is just so different from the one I grew up in, and I wanted to share some of my emotions, some of my thoughts, and essentially what I believe to be the truth about marriage in our modern era, basically. And so, you know, this is unscripted, by the way, so I'm just going to get into it and kind of free flow with you and let you know kind of what's on my mind, but also basically what's going on with marriage these days. So let's get into it. So first, the first thing I want to get off my chest was that in our modern era, I clearly see the millennial generation trying to do something different from what many of our parents did, which many of our parents were in the whole like 60s and 70s like hippie revolution, and a lot of them believed in free love and that kind of stuff. And guess what free love got us? Free love got us like infidelity. Free love got us marriages that don't work, that don't last, and a ton of heartache. And what we learned through our generation that might have suffered the brunt of it, is that divorce hurts a human being, a child, in ways that are far more profound than anyone previously thought or understood. And still to this day, people don't really understand the long-lasting damage that divorce can do. And just for the record, I, being as even-keeled and well-balanced as a human being as I am, I think it's easy to assume that I actually come from a household where my parents are still together. They've never divorced, and they never have divorced anyone else. They both got married in college or after college, and they've stayed together their whole lives. That said, I'll share anecdotally that I have at least 4 close friends, all of which who had their parents divorce at different ages. And I can tell you right now, without a shadow of a doubt, that the ones that had their parents divorce when they were younger, I'm talking like between basically 1 or 2 years old and 12. That period of time is so vital to a child's development as a human being, an eventual adult, that it can't be really understated. And I'll go a step further and share one anecdotal piece of evidence as well, where I had one particular friend who was divorced, and throughout high school he was still being shared by his parents who lived in the same town. And I mean, this guy was hard to be a friend with because he was just so beta, so weak. I mean, he liked the same computer games and stuff, so I played with him, I associated with him like that, but he just was also clearly depressed all the time. It wasn't easy to get a reaction out of him, and like as a guy, like you kind of want friends that are like lively, that react to like either jokes or fun things you want to do. Like if they don't really react, like there's something kind of off with them. So I mean, all I'm really saying is basically like for his entire life, to me, he felt like there's something off. And then I'm so sad to admit that as adults, I don't even know the guy anymore. I used to hang out with him every single day. Every day. And as an adult, I don't know him. I don't think he has any friends anymore. All of his friends from childhood and you know, high school, whatever, they don't know who he is hardly anymore, because he dropped out of college. He started college again. He went to a different college, dropped out of there, and like nobody knows what he's doing anymore. And the last time any of us saw him, he showed up to one of our best friend, my very close friend's weddings, and he left right after the ceremony without saying hardly a single word to any of us who were like really nice to him, welcoming him, being like, "Hey, how's it going?" But like we weren't able to talk because it was like the ceremony, so we're like, oh, we gotta like sit down. Anyway, the weirdest thing is, his mom, who didn't like any of us for whatever reason, his mom, who is like insanely controlling of him, and didn't like us, except she liked me, I guess, because I was Mormon. But most of my other friends, she thought they were like troublemakers, a bad influence, etc. But she stayed for the reception and she partied. Like I saw her drinking at that wedding, and she danced like normal fun stuff. He left. All of us wanted to talk to him. Anyway, so my point being here is that divorce can mess people up. And I'm so glad to see that the millennial generation is trying to fix this. The millennial generation has chosen, I honestly feel like I can speak on behalf of most millennials here, because this is anecdotally fact, that most millennials do believe that they either A, they find the one and they marry them and they want to stay together with them forever, or they just don't get married. And, you know, they'll be in fickle relationships, but they're like, hey, you know, I didn't get lucky, I didn't find the one. But that's kind of like where we're at. And so, like, that's really encouraging to see that, you know, there are patterns throughout not just civilization and history, but also in culture. And our culture is fixing itself, but without God, without Christianity, without any set religion. And so, you know, it's not necessarily perfect. And it never was with God either, to be fair. But it was better. It was a lot better than what we saw throughout the 60s to like 2000, early 2000s. So I'm really happy to see our generation kind of like pushing back against this whole like free love. And the problem is, though, a great number of millennials still buy into the free love thing because of pop culture, music, all of these dating apps like Tinder, OkCupid, you name it. I mean, like literally, like sex is almost an exchange these days. It's not really sacred or special. It's kind of like, that's the first thing we share. And it's like, whoa. Let's go back. Let me go back with you real quick. And I'm going to make this a series. I've been planning this for like literally over a year, but I want to make a series about the truth about love, because I've got a lot of anecdotal experience with dating and stuff, and my brother, I have a huge family, so I've got a lot of kind of lived experience through my siblings as well, and I've learned a lot through friends as well. So I want to make it a series, but what I want to share now is simply that if you go back, and I would argue that at least 75% of the population, is just a number out of a hat, honestly, but I'm guessing that the vast majority of people will admit this: whoever you lose your virginity to, that is not a stranger, like they have to actually mean something to you, you have to have a relationship with them, whoever you lose your virginity to, at whatever age, you have a life bond with them that is kind of supernatural almost. And I say that because it's special, and sex does mean something. And when you continually find new partners and new partners and new partners, the statistics are factual, that they prove that the more partners you have, the more likely you are to never settle down ever, and possibly not even ever have kids, especially if you're a female. So basically, the more sexual you are or promiscuous you are, the more likely you'll be unhappy. Because let's face it, if you never have a life partner, when you start getting old, things get really, really lame. You don't have a permanent best friend that you can rely on basically no matter what, even when you're upset and sad. You don't have someone special that's going to be there even when you push them away. That matters. Having a life partner that you have kids with, that's a bond that you cannot you cannot replace it with anything. There is nothing, absolutely nothing that can replace that kind of a special bond. There just isn't. And I don't even have kids, and I'm sure I'll be making videos still when I do have kids, because that's the kind of person I am. But the point stands, which is these relationships matter, and if you want to be happy in the long term, you need to be working for a long time life bond, not just a partner for the evening to share their sexual organs with, okay? Because sex feels good, but it's very temporary. And when you can wake up next to someone you love every day and know that, you know, you two accept each other for who you really are, and not have to be fake with each other, and not have to, you know, pretend to be better than you really are just so that you can get laid with them. No, that's like not sustainable. It's not healthy, even in my opinion, because when you start getting older, and I hate to say this, but as a woman, when you're past your 30s, if you're still single, your chances of getting a man that you like at all whatsoever, because based on looks or income or intelligence, they're just not going to be up to par, because the good males, the alpha males, the males that will bring that income, or they are good looking and they've got income, or whatever, those males understand, like, if they are an alpha male, they understand what I'm saying already. They don't need to be told it. They already know that they need to settle down, because that leads to a better life for a multitude of reasons. Not to mention, no single individual can do everything perfectly on their own. You just can't. For example, like, one of my biggest blind spots in my life is nutrition, and I'm trying to convince my fiance, soon-to-be wife, to actually come on this YouTube channel and make a whole nutritional segment, because she used to want to be a dietitian for a living, and now she's gone a different path, but she's still super into health and healthy eating and everything. So that's just one point of how we're a partnership now, because she helps me eat better, because I'm just not good at cooking, and I'm just lazy, I guess. I just don't want to take the time to cook good food, honestly, and she's willing to do that. So yeah, marriage is just so amazing. And I'll end that particular point there and move on to another really important part that I wanted to mention, which is, you know, I've got a little bit of fear, as everyone gets right before marriage. Everyone gets a little, like, I wouldn't call myself having cold feet. No, I'm 100% ready to be married. Like, I'm done. I'm ready. I found the one, and I'm so happy about that. But I still have these emotions going on inside that are saying, basically, you know, like, soon you're gonna have money, man. Like, you're gonna have that money finally. It's like, you know, you got the job, you got this, you got that, like, and once you have money, you can find all the women, man. Like, you can get them all, and, you know, you can host parties, this, like, my point being is, hypergamy is the word we use to describe people that want to marry up, like marry up in class. But I don't know if there is a word to describe the emotion that many males have, which is mostly a sexual one, that tries to convince you that you can always find someone better looking. And this used to probably not be a thing. I honestly think this used to not be so common among males, although I'm watching the TV show Mad Men right now, and I'm like, holy crap, these guys are out of control. They're like animals. You know, they treat women like animals, like they're like, you know, a tail to chase, like, or hunt or something. I don't know. It wasn't right. It wasn't right back then, and it's a lot better now. And that is in part because of, you know, first wave feminism. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say here is basically, I feel the emotion that many other people feel, I'm sure, which is, hey man, like you've been in the dating game, you've been single, you were a stud, you were an alpha, dude, you can do it. Like, you don't have to get married now, you're not even 30, man, like, you got plenty of years left, and you should be marrying someone younger than you, and this and that. And I'm marrying someone that's my age, but you know, a lot of these crazy weird emotions that are just kind of coming up in my head that I don't buy into, and they're not convincing to me, because I've found someone that emotionally personality-wise and politically, just and religiously. Like, that's 4 different things. We are all aligned. Like, she and I are great in so many different ways. Not to mention, she gets my humor, which is weird because I have super weird humor. I'm like Eric Andre meets Tim and Eric, somewhere in that weird, very cringe zone. So I'm super excited to be married, but I'm trying to make a video here to tell you guys that the voice in your head that tells you can keep marrying up is the same thing that was going on in the 60s and 70s, guys. Maybe it's in male DNA. It probably is, honestly. Like, people have been trying to sell this to people for a long time, that males aren't supposed to be monogamous. But I mean, in the Bible it says the natural man is an enemy to God, and there's part of our human carnal nature that we do have to fight for long-term happiness and for the creation of future generations, which are like good people. Like, if you create generations and generations of bad people, weak people, damaged people, this is what you get. What's going on in Berkeley, San Francisco, everywhere that's leftist or liberal in America, you get a bunch of betas that don't know crap. They're stupid, literally. Like Stefan Molyneux talks about this a lot, where basically giving your children a bad upraising, whether you do corporal punishment to them, and if you divorce, there's numerous things that can actually lower IQ points. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating. But I mean, I'm trying to help you guys understand that as a society, we need to focus on having happy marriages and families. And people need to have babies. I mean, honestly, the amount of abortions happening in this country is atrocious. That said, I am not saying you shouldn't have an abortion if you're trying to have a kid out of wedlock. I'm completely against having children out of wedlock. Single parent households are atrocious, and they raise damaged people, like I've been saying. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying, if you're in a committed relationship, look at what Casey Neistat did. If you don't know his story, his success is in part due to the fact that at a very young age, he had a baby with his girlfriend, and he chose, we're gonna have this baby, and I'm gonna run with life. And I think he dropped out of high school so that he could start working to support his girlfriend and that baby. And look what Casey Neistat is now. Followed his dreams, okay? So, not everyone's gonna be able to do that, but my point being is, we're aborting more people than are being born. That's a fact. And we need to change society to some extent to help people understand that marriage is beautiful, marriage is an amazing thing, and we need to, honestly, this is what I think. This is it. When you pass a happy looking couple that have children with them, and they're walking around town, wherever, looking happy, those are people that, inside my heart, I don't do it because I think it would creep them out a little bit, but in my heart, I just want to high five them. High five the dad especially, just because it's so easy right now for men more than ever to be shitty and to cheat and to destroy relationships. Females too, obviously. I shouldn't have said that. Honestly, females are, I think, more guilty in our modern era of ruining relationships, because they've been sold a bunch of propaganda that makes them think that, they should do this, basically. They should, marry up and, keep looking if their relationship's not working out, stuff like that. There's nuance to everything, so anytime I say some statement like that, I'm not saying divorce shouldn't be a thing. Obviously, some people need to get a divorce because it just isn't going to work. You don't want to be miserable for your whole life. But when kids are involved, it's freaking too late. You got to wait till they're 16, I think. I think that's what you should do. Wait till they're fully developed and just, put on that game face and fake it. Because their lives are now more important than yours, in the sense that they are the future. You've already lived a pretty great life. You should make do with what you got. If you want to secretly be dating other people or something, I don't know, but all I'm saying is, keep families together, and we should be congratulating happy families. We should be congratulating, maybe even rewarding families that are like raising a proper family, you know. Still, I think we need to change our culture a little bit so that people better understand the long-term effects of divorce on children's lives, and understand how great marriage can be. And I am so excited to get married, guys. I'm really excited about this, and you know, I will be away AFK for some time here, because I'm going on a honeymoon. But yeah, guys, I mean, the main emotions are what I've already said now, and I just want to say that even though I have these emotions of like, hey man, you were an alpha, you were a stud, you can find someone more beautiful, I want to recap on this because there's one thing I wanted to share about it that I didn't. If you keep doing it, I've already stated that statistically, the more partners you have, the less likely you are to stay with someone because of what I'm saying. In your mind messes with you and says, hey, it wasn't that hard to find that other person, this other person, this other person. It wasn't that hard. I can do it again. I can find the right one. But you become more and more easily dissuaded or dissatisfied with someone because of how easy it is. And earlier I stated that you have a sacred, special bond with whoever you lose your virginity to, or at least your first real sexual partner. Emotionally, you bond with them in a way that's really amazing. And I won't get into it, but I will say that the person that I was first intimate with, she has a special place in my heart still to this day. She suffers from a mild mental illness, or a personality disorder, I should call it, that makes her a little crazy. But you know, that whole like crazy to hotness thing, it's very accurate. But still, you know, it doesn't matter what she does, I'll always feel for her because she, you know, she made me open as a personality, whereas before I was like a closed little box, basically, because of how I was raised, made me feel like a very, I don't want to get into it, honestly. I had a rough childhood, and you know, in my younger years, I was very isolated, very introverted, very quiet, and had some anger issues as well. And she kind of brought me out of that. And she was just, you know, a good girlfriend for a good. She's also a bad girlfriend, but but still. My point being is, honestly, guys, if you're thinking about marrying someone, if you're in a real relationship with a high school sweetheart, don't think that there's no value to that relationship. There's this insane amount of value to that relationship you're in, and there's not much in this world that can replace it. You're not going to find something more intimate or special than what you have right now. And throughout the rest of your life, you might end up calling what you're in right now, you know, the great white buffalo that got away, the one that got away. And you might have long-lasting regrets about letting that person go. And I'll be honest and say I'm glad I got away from the one, but I still have regrets anyway. I'm glad, and I still have regrets because I don't love her romantically anymore, but I can say I love her as a human being, like the way you'd love a friend. You know, like you wouldn't want one of your best friends to die or to be hurt or damaged or need help and not get help. Like, that's the kind of relationship I have now. So, yeah, just treat your relationships with the amount of respect and attention that they deserve, because, you know, you don't, like, when a relationship is ended hard because of infidelity or whatever, there's damage to both parties, especially the party that was not the unfaithful one. And there's also damage to people that break up over lesser things. You know, it hurts every time, and every time you go through a relationship and a separation, it damages you a little bit of your heart gets kind of broken or chipped away. And I'm just saying, guys, settling down is an amazing thing. and I'm so excited for the next 10 years of my life. I know within 10 years I'm going to be a father, and you know, just my life is going to bloom into real adulthood now. Once you get married, I consider you, you know, a true adult. So this might be the last video I make for YouTube that I consider myself like a young adult, even though I'm like late 20s. But man, guys, it's crazy. It's crazy that I'm finally doing this. I'm pulling the trigger. I'm all grown up. You know, if you're a young person, if you're like not even 20 yet, and you're watching this, just know this: whatever your head is like now, whatever patterns and habits you build, they stay with you. If you are a young person personality-wise, like, you feel the same way. Like, that doesn't change. The only thing that changes maybe, like, you know, maybe you need to sleep a little bit more on weekends, or like it takes a lot longer to get over a hangover, you know, like your body starts breaking down a little bit. But and it will more and more later down the line. But my point being is it's nothing to fear, because you stay the same person. And old people and young people are very similar. And as you mature, you're gonna realize that some of the old people you know that you thought were like old fogies that were boring, they're actually pretty cool people. You just got to get to know them. Anyways, guys, that wraps it all up for me, I think, in this video. I have a lot of interesting videos on the truth about love that I want to share. So I'm going to start on this series and take it more seriously in the coming weeks. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day.